Hello everyone, welcome to your restorative practice. My name is Tessa. I'm gonna grab my watch so I keep us on time. We're gonna settle into a breathe seat because I want us to warm up the shoulders and prepare for what we'll be doing when we're taking our longer holds. And this will require you to have a strap or a towel or a belt of some sort. I'm just going to use my little exercise band. It doesn't matter as long as you can pull it wide, like a wide V shape, and allow your shoulders to fully extend, right? So it doesn't have to be straight up overhead, but it can be wider. So if you're grabbing a little short, tiny towel, maybe grab a longer towel or a scarf. And then find that seat. And just a few times we'll rotate, inhaling up. And then on your exhale, just bend your elbows and let your strap come behind your head. Inhale up, exhale forward. Do that twice more, inhaling up. Exhale, bend the elbows, strap behind the head, come forward. One more time like that, and then we'll add on. All right, so this time as we inhale up, we'll start to see about keeping our arms straight and rotating the hands like in line with the shoulders, or maybe even a little bit lower. It depends on your range of motion. So anywhere along the way, you're just going as far back behind you as you can with your arms straight. Might not look like mine, might be a different range of motion. And so just honoring your body, honoring your shoulders especially. Such a complicated joint, but does so much for us. It's got this big, beautiful range of motion, but sometimes just the way that we go about our lives, our habits, our behaviors can kind of change that range of motion. The best place to start is where you are at right now. Let's do that one more time. Okay, good. Now we're going to set that strap off to the side. Other props you might want to have would be pillows and blankets as usual for your practice. And if you do have yoga blocks, you might want one of those or two. Let's come into child's pose for a few moments. Option to take your knees wide. You can stretch your arms forward, or you could fold the hands underneath the forehead. We're just starting to breathe into the back of the ribs, the length of the spine. And let your forehead rest here. We'll take about 3 to 4 more breaths in child's pose. Do your best on your exhalation to continue to soften, release, let your body become heavy. On your inhale, there's like this sense of expansion. And so you're noticing where in your body you feel like you can expand a little bit more, breathe a little bit deeper. So inhale, come forward. I just want you to take a seat here for a moment because I would rather you watch me set this up before heading into it and trying to get your body into the position while listening to the instructions. So watch this first round. First thing I want to point out is that we're going to work with opening the front of the chest and the anterior shoulder joint, but this is a pretty delicate joint. So here's what I'm looking for. Elbow in line with the shoulder or above the shoulder, but not below the shoulder. So I'll say that again. Elbow in line with the shoulder or above, but not below. Okay. And then we're going to be belly down. And so the palm is going to be pressing into the floor in an effort to actively engage that muscle while you're increasing your range of motion. So you're not just, traditionally in our restorative practices, we're really softening through the body and letting the body be heavy and released. We're going to actively engage a little bit through this one to keep the joint safe. So watch me, like I said, I'm going to come down into Sphinx Pose for a moment. My elbows are underneath my shoulders. And just so you can see this, I'm going to take my left elbow out to the side. I like to keep my elbow bent. I'm taking a peek at the elbow in alignment with the shoulder and just kind of sliding my fingertips forward so that I'm sure my elbow is not going below my shoulder. And then from there, I'll turn my left cheek down, my right palm underneath the shoulder. And then I'm going to press into my right hand to roll the weight onto my left shoulder and hip. And this right leg, it can stack on top of the bottom. It can sweep behind. You can bend your knee, right? So you can get to kind of choose your own adventure with your legs. So if you haven't already, come forward into Sphinx. This is your first step. And then left elbow out to the side. Take a peek. Is it above the shoulder or in alignment? Wiggle those left fingertips forward some. Right palm underneath the shoulder. Left cheek to the floor, mat. Rolling onto your left shoulder, your left hip. Right leg, you can stack it. Or you can sweep it behind the left leg. And then remember I mentioned actively engage a little bit through that left palm, like actively press down into that left palm so that you're getting that stretch to move into the belly of the muscle, and the muscle is the pec major, pec minor. We're going to be here for about 3 minutes. If you need to come out before that, please honor your body. Deep belly breaths here. And notice where you're feeling sensation. Can you feel this stretch sensation in the chest muscle? If you can't, if it's more in the shoulder than the chest, wiggle your fingertips up towards the top of your mat a little bit more. Press the left palm down into the mat a little bit more. So if you can slow your breath down for the last 5 breath cycles. And slowly take your time with this. We're going to start to exit. You're going to come back onto your belly. Okay, so we're going to pause in between sides. We're not going right into the second side just yet. If you want a little bit of a back bend, you can bring your elbows underneath your shoulders and come into Sphinx. Do your best to relax your glutes, your legs, your ankles and your toes. If you want something a little bit less back bendy, just elbows wide, hands underneath the forehead, and rest your forehead on the backs of your hands. Last 2 breath cycles wherever you are. And then if you're resting your forehead on the backs of your hands, come back up to Sphinx. And to set up that second side, first again, that right elbow off to the side, take a look at the elbow in alignment with the shoulder or slightly above the shoulder is what I recommend. And then wiggle the fingertips forward a few inches, those right fingertips. Right cheek to the mat, left palm underneath the shoulder. Press down into that left hand to roll your weight onto your right side, shoulder and hip. A little bit of active pressure into the right palm. Almost like you're trying to drag yourself forward. Anything you want to do with that left leg, it can stack, it can sweep behind. The sweeping behind of that left leg will add more dimension to this in terms of like layering on what the body is doing and feeling. So not only are you opening up through the chest, the anterior shoulder, but adding a little bit of a twist of the spine. Most likely you're going to feel this wherever you're tight. And for me, that's like in my outer hip, IT band, glute. Just kind of noticing where you're feeling sensation here. Do your best to breathe deep, slow belly breaths. And just a reminder, a little gentle pressure into that right hand. A little bit of an engagement as you're stretching the muscles of the chest. Last few breath cycles here. Can you slow the breath down a little bit more? Slowly start to make your way out, really gentle. So take your time with this. You're just rolling back onto your belly. And just take a moment. Maybe you're coming back towards Sphinx for that little bit of a back bend. And if you are taking Sphinx, relax your legs, relax your glutes. And if that's not possible, if that's too much on the back, take your elbows wide, stack your hands, and rest your forehead. Okay, let's come up to the palms underneath the shoulders, press up to hands and knees. I want you to just test out how the spine feels, the spine, the pelvis, and the shoulders by taking a few cat-cows. If you want to work a little bit into the wrist, you could, in your cat-cow, within your cat-cow, flip one palm up to face the armpits, fingertips pointing towards the knees. And then the opposite side, opposite hand, palm facing upward towards the armpit, fingertips pointing towards the knees. And hands back to the mat. We're going to move now onto the back body. And we'll have our prop close by, whatever prop you're going to use. We're going to work with still with the front body, but now we're going to move towards the pelvis and the anterior hips. So I'm going to use a bolster. This could be, instead of a bolster, it could be a stack of folded blankets. It could be a pile of pillows. It could be a yoga block if you have one. Anything that's going to help elevate the back of the pelvis. And the area that we're targeting, again, is the back of the pelvis. So not the low back, just below that, the tailbone and the last 5 fused vertebrae of the spine. Start by bending your knees, planting your feet, and coming down onto your back. Before we add any height underneath the pelvis, a little bit of a pelvic tilt up and down. So this is like cat-cow, I think, for the lower body, cat-cow for the lower spine. So I'm just rocking forward onto the tip of my tailbone. The low back slightly lifts, and then I'm pressing the low back into the mat, and the tailbone slightly lifts. But the hips stay in contact with the mat the whole time. Just a few more rounds of that. Okay, and let go of that movement. Let's press down into the feet. We'll lift the hips up and then slide that prop that you're going to use underneath the pelvis. Just take a few moments here to settle in. Let the back of the pelvis be heavy on your prop. So keeping that left knee bent and the foot planted, take your right knee and hug it in towards the chest. You can interlace your hands around the shin or the back of the thigh. Give that right thigh a squeeze towards the outer rib cage. And this is an option here. You can take that left leg and extend it long. Just an option. Definitely not a requirement. So you're listening to your body, its cues, its limitations, its ability. That's really your teacher here in this practice. Just take about 3 breaths like this. Set that right foot back to the mat. Bend your left knee if you extended it. So you're back in this starting position. Pause here, breathe in. Breathe out. And then hug your left knee into your chest. If you're taking the hands and interlacing them around the shin, maybe the opposite thumb is on top now. You're just switching out the grip, so it feels slightly different. And then there's the option to extend the right leg long. Three breaths here. Okay, so release the left foot, so it's back to the mat. Knee is bent, the right leg extended, bend the right knee, plant the foot. Pause here, breathe in. Breathe out. Now you're going to make a decision based on your body and how it feels. If you're feeling really good and you want to stay right here, we're going to find some stillness. There's the option to walk the feet a little bit wider and let your knees knock in towards one another. There's an option to take the legs, both of them, out long. If that's too much on the spine and the low back, just rebend your knees and take that first option. Ideally, you're coming into a place of stillness where in this position, you're completely relaxed. So you're not gripping anywhere in the body. You're completely letting go and releasing any tension. And tension can exist in the physical body in layers, right? So like you're unpeeling the layer, you're unpacking each layer. You're kind of noticing, okay, I'm releasing flesh around the glutes. Okay, now I feel that I feel tension in a different place in my body. So now I'm releasing that area of tension. Just kind of like a little detective, you're peeling back these layers where you hold your tension. This requires a certain level of patience, inquisitiveness, and compassion for your experience. So say it again: patience, curiosity, and compassion. Okay, if your legs are stretched straight out, one at a time, bend your knees and plant your feet. Go slow with that. Let's come back to this place where the feet are planted, knees are bent, and then start to take the knees side to side. Now, again, this can be a lot with that lift of the pelvis. If you still have the prop underneath you, you can remove it if this is too much. Sometimes it's fun to explore things, that same old thing. We do this a lot, this windshield wiper of the knees side to side. So I think it's interesting to explore it with different layers, and utilizing a prop underneath the pelvis can be a different experience. You might notice it feels different when you move your knees in one direction, like moving the knees off to the right. Completely different experience, maybe when you move your knees to the left. Let's come back through center. Move that prop out of the way. And then just take a few moments here to come back to that pelvic rock with the hips in line with the shoulders. Everything's in one plane. Tip of the tailbone to the low back. You're just kind of moving back and forth. And then if you like, you could hug your knees into your chest. A little squeeze. You could take happy baby. You could rock your happy baby side to side if you like. We'll take a minute to just rest in stillness. That could be that Shavasana corpse pose, flat on your back. You could be taking props underneath the backs of the knees. You could be taking your legs up the wall or coming into an upright seat. I'm going to take that option today for my last position, a seated meditation. You choose what's calling to you. Take 1 minute here. Whatever you're taking, let your shoulders relax down your back, slightly tilt your chin to your chest. Can you let your eyes close? Deep breath in through the nose. Open your mouth, exhale. Whatever's in contact with the floor, let it be heavy. Let it settle, let it release. If you're lying on your back or legs up the wall, Shavasana, you can start to wiggle your fingertips and toes. Sweep your arms over your head, breathing into the length of the body. And then meet me in an upright seat. We'll just briefly close out our practice together here, joining the hands together at the heart, bowing the chin into the chest, honoring our practice with reverence and gratitude. May you remember that you will always be okay. May you find a white light that guides you and keeps you safe. May you have hope, help, and happiness along the way. Namaste, yogis. Thank you, everyone, so much for your time, for showing up, for carving out the space in your day to practice, to be with yourself. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care of yourself, eat good food, drink lots of water. See you next time.